And boom, we're live. Very first podcast with Mr. Mike Forbes. Thank you very much for coming on. Great to have you on. The big question is, everybody wants to know is, what got you started? How did you get an interest in the dogs? And how did you get an interest in competing with the dogs?
Yeah, well, it's lovely to have you here, both of you, and I appreciate being given the opportunity to answer a few questions. Being a farmer, of course, my life is country life.
Yep.
And I've always had an interest in shooting, fishing, dogs, farming, the whole thing. And although I've not trialled for a long time, I have been in dogs since the early 80s, to be honest with you. And actually, my first cocker was a cocker, Strathfleet Sally Ann of Amaki, and a lovely bitch, a great hunting dog. And she was I crossed her with a dog called Bracken Boy, who was a keeper from up at Dunkeld, field trial winning dog. And I didn't have any real understanding of trials at that time, but I just knew I wanted to have good dogs, being a competitive sort of guy, and bred that litter. And out of that litter, we took I sold a black cocker to a local chap who then sold it to Danny McKenzie. Danny McKenzie was a huge influence on me, along with Len Thane in the early days. He bought the dog, and I at that time had an affix called a Mackie, and the dog was called a Mackie Tarf. Tarfside, it was short for Tarfside. Tarfside's where I spent all my summer holidays up Glenelg. And it was the first cocker that was to win in the UK field trial champion, sold to America by Danny McKenzie, and then was to win in America. And it's actually, if you Google Omaki Tarf, first cocker to be an American field trial champion and a UK field trial champion. And that buzz that I got from hearing about the dog that I bred started me in dogs. And then got a Labrador, bred out of Lee Cross Wrinkles, and lovely lad called Belle. And being a shooting guy, shot every year, every season, love shooting, and that's, I always want to have a lab and a cocker by my side, and take it from there. And those were the early days, back in the early 80s. And I think I got my first the affix, or Mackie affix, in 1988.
1988.
Yeah. So I trained dogs prior to that, got my affix, and then I was thinking maybe I should be thinking of trial. Danny McKenzie and Len Thane from Fotheringham, great guys, said, listen Mike, you should be getting in here, you should be training for trials. And just a young lad, didn't know much about it, was thinking maybe I should do that. But at that time, so I got a few dogs, got this cocker and a Labrador, and thought, well, I'm going to start training. Unfortunately, my son got leukemia, Cameron, and I broke from it all, and I decided that I needed to focus on getting him better, and eventually would come back to trial.
Of course, anything family-wise is always priority over everything in life, in my opinion. So it doesn't matter about anything you're doing, it's your health is your wealth, in my opinion. But where you've started, what you've just said there, Mike, you've just put a dog to your bitch, and you've made a bit of history there.
Yeah.
You've got a UK champion that's
an American Kennel Club champion.
And then it's went over
the
there.
First cocker ever to be a champion in both countries at the same time.
And at this time you're a pure novice.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what was going. I think I've still got the original Omaki Tarf. I think that's the original. The original. Yeah, that's the original Omaki
that on the camera.
Yeah. That's an original
So-
Omaki Tarf.
So
UK, USA champion.
Some people's goals that they strive for a very long time, you as a novice picking a stud dog that's quite local to you, ends up boom, creating a bit of history.
I think a wee bit of that, you know, at the end of the day I'm a farmer, I'm a pig farmer, and I understand genetics. I think that's a big help. Understanding the genetics so you know what's going to work was a huge help in understanding livestock, animals, dogs, whatever, call them what you want.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you also need to understand I didn't train that dog. Danny McKenzie trained that
I understand that.
And that was a different thing. And to train and make up a champion is wholly different from breeding it.
Mhm.
And I was just lucky enough to understand what was going to make the right combination,
Yeah.
and it served me well actually.
But at the same time, you can put all your training and wisdom into a dog if it's not got what it takes, and it's not going to be there. So
It's funny,
back to the breeding, it is a
Mike
big part.
Rollins, who I trained with in the early days, said to me that he trained a bit with John Halstead, and I think John Halstead was the guy who said something like you can't make mahogany out of plywood. So if you've not got the dog on the animal in the right there to deal with, you're not going to end up with something that's going to look nice. So if you're going to build something out of plywood, it's never going to look like mahogany. So you need the genetics there.
Yep, correct. So going to push on a wee bit.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Right, to the myth between training a pup. Some people say don't touch it till it's 6 months, and then other people say do this, do that. I've got my own very strong opinion
Sure.
on that, but I'd just like to hear your opinion and mix it up a bit.
Okay.
So you get a pup, what do you do in the first 6 months? In my opinion, it's very
Nothing.
important. So yourself,
Nothing.
you do nothing.
Absolutely. That pup needs a chance to become a pup. Enjoy its young life. I actually, in the labs, I don't start training labs till they're 8 months old.
Right.
And I think some of the others out there don't actually do much till they're 12 months old. I firmly believe that a dog needs to be and enjoy its life as a youngster. I think there's a lot of people want to see it doing too much too young, and it absolutely takes the steam out of them for when they're older. That's my personal view. I'm not sure if you think like that or anyone else. In fact, I couldn't care what anyone else thinks.
Yep.
That's my view. I've got some lovely pups in the kennel just now, and they will not be touched, and they will be encouraged to have a ball while they're young. You know, chase, run, have fun, and okay, there's some things that you won't allow them to do that obviously might become imprinted in their mind. There is some things you won't allow them to do, but the bulk of it means they have to enjoy themselves. They want to be part of you. The bond has to be created, and that doesn't matter whether it's a crocker, a bloody lab, and I'm sure the Springer guys think the same. Not that I know much about them, but that for me is critical. So that dog, when he's ready to rumble, is wanting to do it, and he wants to do it for you.
So socialising key to you.
Oh,
there.
huge. I've got a pup in the house through there, Rook, Botman from Ireland, and every pup has 3 or 4 months in the house with me. They need to hear the coffee mornings, all the clatter, the bang, the radio's going. They want to be part of it, they want to come in, they want to be up there, they want to be told they're not allowed to go up on the sofa, but yet they want to be patted and loved, and they want to be feeling that bond, or bond wants to be created. I think that's massive. Doesn't matter, again, doesn't matter what sort of dog it is. I think it's important they feel part of you and hear everything that's going on. Not all of a sudden they're brought from a kennel that have been maybe kept away for 8 months, and all of a sudden they're brought into this and they'll become scared and wondering what the hell's going on. I'm not a believer in that.
Brilliant. So we're at 6 months. Now we'll go back a wee bit again if you don't mind.
Mhm.
So you've picked a sire for your bitch, you've bred the litter that you want, you've done a bit of thinking behind it. How do you choose your pup for the litter?
I have a very strong view on that, and with my cockers, I don't allow anyone to have a cocker out of my litter until they're 6 months minimum. So I keep all the litter till they're 6 months old, and I have a system of choosing them on a regular basis. I throw balls, we do lane training, we do all of that, and I have a system of moving the dogs I like up in a set of kennels, and we know the top 2, Alec Coots comes in, who I train with, comes up and he says, oh, that's a 2-year favourite this week, and then it keeps going from there until they're 6 months old. And even then, sometimes I'll say, no, we need to take them for 8 months. I don't believe in chance. If you're going and choosing a pup at 8 weeks old, it's down to chance. You don't know them. You need to see the traits develop. You need to understand them a little. I think that's really important. And with our cockers, that's the way we work. Everything's kept 6, 8 months. We see what we like. We keep the best 2, and we allow the others to move on. And from there, and it served us well. I mean, we've proven, it's a proven fact, it served us well. And we'll continue to do that. and it's hard work. Keeping 6 dogs till they're pups till they're 6 months old is bloody hard work. It's hard work cleaning them, it's keeping on top of them, the whole thing. And of course you lose the interest because everyone wants to buy a small pup that's furry and fun and everything. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
I want a dog, the 2 dogs, the best dogs in that litter, that I could take on, go to Alec, I can lane train them, move them on, and that's the way I feel. In the labs, I would certainly expect their litters are a little bigger, so cockers maybe get 4 to 6, labs you might get 8 to 10 sort of style. I would expect to keep the best 2 or 3 of my labs back and sell the rest of them. And ideally, if I had enough people, I would keep them till they're 6 or 8 months old. But it's a big affair, keeping litters that long, a big affair. And I'm not, my son helps me a huge amount, and I have a little kennel girl who helps me as well. And it is serious to get to that level where you want to keep them that long. But that's my plan.
So, for a novice, chooses a champion to cover their bitch, and but I suppose has to get rid of the pups between 8 and 12 weeks. They're choosing for chance, in your opinion?
I do. I think it's absolutely chance. If you've got a litter of pups, you're selling at 8 weeks old, absolute chance. You as well sticking your finger in the air and saying, what the hell's next? And I know that everyone says they've got pups that come to them first and they tell them. It's nonsense. At the end of the day, you cannot tell at 8 weeks. You cannot tell. It's nonsense. You need to see them develop. You need to see the characters, the traits, everything coming on. Doesn't matter whether it's a cocker, a lab, or a bloody springer, and I'm sure you'll feel the same about lurchers or whatever the hell it is. They need to develop. You couldn't tell if you had a young boy or a girl in your family. You couldn't tell me what they were going to be out until at least they could speak, at least they could walk a bit, run, whether they were going to be an athlete, what the hell they were going to be. You couldn't tell me that. So until they can speak, how do you know? That's the way I feel about the dog thing.
Great. So, you started off a bit different from most, in fact, it's very unique. You've bred a champion before you've even competed with a dog. So, you've got a nice line there, you know your stuff about animals. You've chosen a dog to go and compete with. What was your first competition? What kind of a twisted your arm to get into it? What caught your eye?
I actually was very fortunate. I met a nice guy, Mike Rowland, and he came and he showed me what a champion Labrador looked like, and in his champion, and it was absolutely fantastic what I saw that day. And I had a lab that I thought was capable of trialling, and there was no chance it was capable. It needed a different league. You needed to move to a different era. And Mike showed me that. Mike was absolutely open and showed me what was required. An incredible amount of time and depth and training and countless hours. I mean, I could see that I had got it wrong. And he showed me. And he was excellent at showing me. And I trained a lot with him in future years, and he taught me a lot. And I was lucky to be with him. And but also Alec Coots, who I worked closely with my cockers, he showed me as well an enormous amount of what is required in training. And I actually realised, how far off the mark I was, and how if I was going to do this, I really needed to sort myself out. And I took the bull by the horns, typically it's the way I did, and decided, right, I'm going to get involved here. I'm going to bloody be serious. I'm going to compete, and I'm not going to be a number. I don't want to be a number, and I never want to be a number. Never want to just appear. And I'm going there to compete, and I'm going to there bloody well win. I don't care what I'm in, and that's the way I'm made. That's the way my father was made. And it might be a bad thing. It might be a good thing. I have no idea, but it's the way I'm made, and I ain't going there just to make up numbers.
That's it. So now you've been showed what a champion looks like. You've got an understanding of the time, the effort, a wee bit of the inside.
It's enormous.
What needs to be trained. Now, Mike, you've picked your first dog to compete with. Where were you competing? What kind of dog was it with? And how did you feel about entering the starting line?
It was a dog that was out of the Labdom line, and me and my wife went down to Lancashire to choose it, brought it back. It was the last pup in a litter, and we wanted well-bred lines that were health tested, and brought it back. And I've still got her in the kennel today. She was shooting with me on Saturday there now. She's nearly 11, and I ran her after understanding and getting my head around trials. I ran her in many trials and didn't do well at all until Mike Rowland taught me the way that I should be getting my dog to. And I remember running her at a trial up in Elgin at Geddes, North of Scotland trial, and I made it to the last four, and we were walking down just a wee rough strip, and the shooting was going ahead, and another strip about 120 yards away, and I think Kirsty Cousins, as I remember, was there with a bloody good dog, and Gary Wood was there, topper of a lad, with a real cracking dog. The three of us were there, and we were in a runoff essentially. And I'd seen, and I'd got to the level, so I knew what I was trying to achieve, and knew what I was going to have to compete against. And Kirsty Cousin, as I recall, was sent for a long cock pheasant, and a hare got up en route, and I thought, oh excellent, that's going to sort that dog out. My God, the dog never even flinched. It left the hare, went straight to it, and I just thought this was so fantastic, seeing a dog so well trained to do that. And I thought, oh God, it's my turn here, and managed to do a fine retrieve and got in there, and hey ho, I came third in that trial, but it was the first trial I really got an award in, and I just got the buzz about it. And if you're competitive and you're someone who wants to win, and I'm sure you felt this yourself, if you get that buzz, it's just something that drives you on. And I'm coming from a fishing background, you know, and I got that buzz in many fishing competitions, became national champion, Fish for Scotland. I had that buzz, so if your genetics are made like that, you want to be part of it. And that was my first real success. I remember phoning Mike Rollins and telling him I got third today, and it was cracking. And that was the start of it, and I want to be more, and I want to be better, and I want to do all these things that people speak about, and it was special. I think we actually had a huge celebration when I got home, so it was fine. And that started me, I suppose, on going further and wanting to do more in trials, and just for the way it was for me, certainly in the labs anyway, in the first place. Cockers, we go back to Cockers and Alec Coots. We had our first win down in Yorkshire, and we had a cocker called Suki, and we got through Gareth Davis, and wonderful dog. She started the whole cocker kennel, and we ran down in the Yorkshire, and I think it was Ian Openshaw's ground, and she ran brilliantly. Great trial. It was our first real win, and that was an incredible buzz again. Being there, seeing Alex handle.
Can I just ask you, was it Alex that was handling the dog?
Alex handles the dogs. Alex handles.
I mean, for that first win, was it Alex that was handling that?
Alex handles all my cockers,
right.
So he handles them all, whatever way it is, and I just don't have time having business the way I am. I handle all my labs. I can handle training two labs a year. I can handle a couple of litters of pups, getting them ready for Alec. Sometimes we go to Jim O'Neill. In the early days, now Alec and I tend to do more ourselves. Alec handles them all, and Alec's super. You know, he's absolutely mustard, and I've learned so much from him. And a brilliant trainer of spaniels, and he'd created a pedigree of his own from way back, and that's why I approached him. And it was actually a lovely guy, Jim Dykes, who said, listen mate, I think you need to go and speak to Alec Coots. He'll help you on your route to creating cockers in Scotland that are second to none. And no, Alec was the first. He's won many trials for us. I think he's won 4 or 5 field trial champions. He made up for for the Mackie affect.
Brilliant. So you've went through there been in the thick of it, getting your a third in a field trial. So you've now made a dog up to field trial award winner.
Yep.
You're there or thereabouts of winning. Then Alex goes and wins with one of your cockers.
Yep.
That you've put your time and effort and your knowledge into the breeding.
Yep.
So you're starting to get a wee bit of success now. And this is all kicked off for a third in a novice trial.
Yep.
So that's gave you the buzz. So now you've done very well. Everybody that knows you knows that you peaked, you went to the very top of fishing, and now you've created this other buzz. And in my opinion, I've done a bit of fishing as well competitively. You get a better buzz off training your dogs, or the dogs that you've got. It's a strange pull towards going to the dogs. I think that's how people get upset when they start speaking about dogs. Oh, my dog's better than you, and that's where a lot of arguments come.
And of course, you know, kennel blindness is a thing which gets, and I hope I never get that. You know, that you think your dogs are the best, but they're actually not performing, and they've got to perform. They have to win if you're going to be at the best. You're going to compete with everything. There's no point saying, listen, my dogs are fantastic, but you know what, I've had a fourth, and that's all I've had, and had a certificate of merit. You know, that's not for me. I'm not that sort of guy. I want to win. I want to burst everything, and that's the way I'm made. And you know, whether it's labs or cockers, whether it's freaking fishing or golf, that's the way I'm made.
So
I want to be the best.
See now, when looking back,
Right.
see you getting that third. Probably although it's a third, it's probably one of the most important awards you got.
Of course it is. And you know, I go back to Mike Rowland. I train with him a lot, and I did, and certainly in those days. And you know, he was a very competitive guy, and he was a huge instigator in me going where I went. And you know, I was lucky enough to have met the guy and learn a lot from him, because you need people to support you, and I think that's one of the things that the newcomers don't get nowadays, and they don't get support from some of the old hardened professionals that you need to understand. Learn the thing about trialling. What is the things that makes it happen? Where do you need to be? And also the drive of yourself. You need to have that want to be the best, or certainly get in there amongst the top. You know, I'm not one of these believers in just training for the sake of training. Fair enough, maybe gun boys want to have a shooting day, and that's lovely. And I don't hold anything against those people who want to have a dog that's for shooting. I think it's brilliant. We need all those people. But if you're a competitive made guy, you're not there just to make numbers up. You want to friggin' win.
Yep.
You want to win big.
Right, so Mike, you've got a bit of success now. Alex went away, you've won your first trial. Surely the hairs in the back of the neck are standing up now. You've got your eyes on the prize. So you were saying there you were introduced to Alex, or you were told to contact Alex. So how did your relationship start with Alex, and what did you agree on, and what was the plan?
Well, Alec and I flew down to Wales on the back of Gareth Davis. I'd gone to see the pup already with Jim Dykes. We didn't like. They were asking huge sum of money. I think they thought I was some guy with wealthy guy coming forward. Didn't work out. Went and spoke to Alec, and I said, Alec, listen, I've got this dog down in Wales. Gareth Davis has helped us get it, and it was actually from a chap who owns the Winfred Cockers, Cyril Brown there, lovely guy. And Gareth had said, listen, come down, Mike, he's got a cocker, he's actually not in great health. He might suit you as a foundation bitch for you, it might work. I just met Alec, and of course Alec and I, like dog lovers did, started chatting. We missed our bloody plane, we're talking, okay, we bloody missed our plane, we're talking about friggin' dogs. Christ almighty, it was a bloody hamstring on our tail. We've got the next flight, made it down there, saw this dog that Cyril had, and really enjoyed meeting him at Cyril, and saw all this. And I said, listen, we did a few things. Cyril had done a few moves. Alec had quite cleverly planted a hen pheasant that Cyril hadn't seen, and he said, Mike, I think Cyril's just set this up for us to see. Planted this hen pheasant. So we're walking forward, and Alec said to Cyril, right, I know you've put one out there, Cyril, but I've left one back there. Can you put your dog back for it? And Cyril's like, oh, I could see Cyril thinking, right, okay, these boys are really serious about it. Cyril handled the dog back, Suki at the time, and she went back lovely with pace and drive. And I said, and at the end of the wee session that we had, I said to Alec quietly, I said, listen, you know what I'm wanting here, Alec. We want to set something long term. I want to have the best cocker kennel in Scotland, and ultimately in the UK. And if we can do that, this is going to be a bitch. Do you think she's got it in her?
So right there and then, you're not thinking about that, but you're thinking 5 years down the line.
Absolutely, 5, 10, 15 years, 100%. And Alec and I talked about it all the way down. We missed the bloody plane. We missed the. I mean, we were in of course we talked about it, and I think I had him on board at that time. But when he realised my passion, that's when he said to me, right, Mike, give me this chance. I'll see what I can do with this dog. And he took her up Glenesk and trained with her. We bought her from Cyril at the time, and trained with her. And he told me, updated me all the time. We came to an agreement, and he said, listen, Mike, she took one of the best running cock pheasants I've ever seen. This girl's going to make it. We need to push her on. And I said, well, you've got to do it. And at that time, I think Alec wasn't sure about my commitment. He'd obviously seen a few folk and asked them to train dogs for him, and they weren't as committed as me. You know, if you get me, you get 110%. I'm not one of these guys that goes in half-hearted.
So it would have been at that time, it would maybe have been very easy to turn Alex's head to say another offer like yourself was going to make him, because he was that good at his job. He
was good at his job, but he also was a nice guy. He liked fishing. That was a good thing. Fisherman, you can't. If you're a good fisherman, it's here.
Well, you know? I did try and bring you up some flies, but they've not arrived. So
anyway, Alec is a great fisherman and a good fly tyer. He now comes with me a week every year up to the sea trout in the Isle of Lewis, and we fish in Loch and up in a state called Hammer Bay. But that's just because our friendship's developed. Yeah. It's gone beyond business now. It's a friendship that's developed. He knows what I'm trying to achieve. He's part of that now, and thankfully he's a tremendous trainer as well. And the pair of us look at things, and we both work together. We both train together. We both train the dogs. We do, you know. And unfortunately, things have gone beyond rabbits. You know, because rabbits aren't as plentiful as they were. They now have gone to, you know, most of your days are actually importing your cocker marks. You know, you're shooting pheasants and partridge and things like that. And the cocker really needs to mark. Fair enough getting it to hunt, but it needs to mark as well. And we've progressed to that, and we do a lot of that together. But in the early days, I could see he was sussing me out and working, just see how committed I was. And I'm sure if you asked him now, 4 champions in, and God knows how many dogs coming on. I think we've 6 or 7 in the kennel coming up ready to go. He knows the commitment that we've got. I've got. He's part of that. He's part of it, understands what we're doing. To the extent that he stopped doing the springers, and I regret terribly that he did that. And he said, listen, Matt, I'm going to stop doing the springers. And he's had some wonderful springers in his days, and he's told me about Billy and all those things. And I didn't want to be the guy that broke him from that. But he has come on board and is as passionate about cockers now as I am. And I'm not saying I could handle the job that he does.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have the business, you know, this cocker job is not easy.
No.
They are little buggers, serious, and you need to understand the cocker training. And I've trained labs, and I think labs are, you know, I think what's the old saying that labs come out born trained, cockers come out born a bloody menace. And a lot of truth in that.
I can testify to that. There's an old saying, when the wheels come off, I didn't understand it until it happened to me. So now you've got where we are now. You're starting to establish your kennel name. You're starting to get in the awards, and you touched a wee bit there on the training. So the rabbits aren't as plentiful as what they once were. So what I took for that there is you're getting the dogs to hunt, put the pattern in and get the passion on the rabbits, and then taking them to mark pheasants down and send them for runners, things like that. So is that something that you've agreed on that needs to be done, rather than just
Yeah,
on the rabbit ground,
it
if a snipe gets up or
it
a
actually happened at a trial. Suki, our first kennel with the dog that I was talking about, she went to a trial and she was a bit out of her depth. It was all pheasants and she wasn't marking, and I remember saying to Alec, you know, you need to get this dog marking, we need to sort it. And thankfully he did. He worked hard on that. And hunting's important. Don't get me wrong, hunting is really important. You know, 60-70% of the dog must be a great hunter, but at the end of the day, if it cannot mark, if you cannot get the dog to mark properly, then it's an issue.
especially in open trials.
Ah, Christ, and nowadays 90% of your trials on pheasants and partridge and all of that. You don't get many trials on rabbits. Great to get them hunting to start with, but ultimately they must mark. And it's the same with labs. You know, labs have to mark as well. And it's really important that you get that level of training right. And there's ways of doing that. I think probably my early days, I would say it's a weakness of mine with labs, is not getting them to mark well enough. You know, fair enough getting them to handle, but if you train yourself, and I have to obviously take, if I'm training dogs, I have to take 15-20 minutes at lunch, go and do that. You don't have someone there to help you.
Yep.
And I think marking is really important, and I probably in the past haven't marked well enough, whether it's for labs or cockers. By God, we've changed that now.
Yep, so you've got a spin right on your full training
100%.
regime. So now these are together, these two yous have committed into what yous are trying to achieve. You start to get a wee bit of success now. Yous are starting to make ripples throughout the gun dog world, the trialling world.
Yep.
Our first champion. When did that get made up?
That was made up. That was Alec again, and it was Suki, our first dog, down in Yorkshire, and Ian Openshaw ground. We made her up, and it was a funny kind of day. There was a lot of snipe that day, and marking was brilliant. We'd mastered that by then, and she had a couple of finds. One of the finds, she was such a strong hunter that one of the finds she nearly pegged this rabbit. The rabbit just come out with a wee bit of fluff in her mouth, and I remember thinking to myself, my God, how lucky we were not to get caught there. And Alec had just given a wee toot and whistle, and she let it go. But she was a class of her own, a class of her own, and she won that day. And I went home, and I just remember the excitement and the buzz it gave me. And I could see the excitement that Alec had got, you know, and winning down in England on Openshaw ground, and just an incredible feeling to taking a bit of silverware home. And it was just wonderful, and that knocked on to the Labradors, and the first win I had at the Kennel Club with a dog called Brad, and I remember that clearly. A run-off against Sandra Halstead, made it to the final. I think the judges were Mark Demain and Andy Latham and a couple other guys, and I was a nervous lad at the time, but I'd worked hard. I knew what I was wanting to try and achieve, and got in the run-off and managed to win that. And I actually was a final that day when the Kennel Club day at Bow Hill. There was a wee drive they finished with, and red leg partridges, and I kept wondering why they were kind of pushing me further on. There must have been a wee glitch from earlier in the day that I hadn't done anything, something had worried them. They pushed me further on. I wiped Sandra in the mark off, which was in the run off, which was fine. But they pushed me on a bit further, and I think we had 7 retrieves when normally you would have 5 in Labrador, and I thought, I think I've proved myself now. The dog's done 5 retrieves, everything he was asked of him, and I was lucky to win that, and that again. So there's a combination of a novice win and a cocker win. By that time it was full on. There was nothing holding me back.
There you go. So we collectively he's made up a champion.
Yeah.
Alex is handling that. He's won down in England on Openshaw, arguably top trainer in the UK or Europe's ground. You're coming home with a bit of silverware, proud as punch. Then basically instantly you went and won with your lab. So is that just a positive case of success breeding success in your opinion?
Yeah, I think success does breed success, but I'm a huge believer in positive mental attitude. I think we discussed it earlier, just talking about health and various things. But I think if you always think you're going to be second, you'll be second. If you're going to go out and win, and you've got that in your, and you're desperate to make it happen, it's going to happen sometime. And I do believe, and I've seen it in dogs, labs and cockers along the way, that okay, you'll come third and fourth, but I do ultimately believe the cream will rise to the top. You can't keep a good dog down, and if you're a good trainer and a good handler, that combination with a good dog ultimately will come to the top. And there's many handlers have proven that. I've learnt that the hard way.
So
Alex learnt that.
So you don't believe in, I know there's a cliche in the trialing world where the dog doesn't win a trial within its first few trials, it's away. That's not your mentality.
Bullshit, in my phrase, it's bullshit. That dog will come right one of these days. You have patience, you must have patience. And if you believe that dog's capable, your handler believes that, you believe that, ultimately it'll come. It's just a matter of sticking in. And Alex proven me, we've had dogs on the way that have had issues, they've had little glitches. And that expertise that he's brought to it, and I think Mike Roland as well to an extent, and I'm an impatient kind of bugger, and it's not good. You need
no,
to.
No,
it's not good. It's not good in the dog world. You must sort that out. And fair enough in fishing, you can sort that out the next day, but you can't do it in dogs.
Yep.
And it's been a weakness of mine. And you must have that patience to see it through some of the problems. I mean, we've had some classic problems. Ben, Pool Green Crafty of Amaki, Ben had problems coming out of his fucking ears. I tell you right now, the only dog I've ever seen on a retrieve come back with a dummy in his mouth, whining for you to throw the dummy again. He was so desperate to have the dummy thrown again. I can't tell you. And the first week I had him,
What do you do with that?
I had a wee rabbit pen, and I'm walking all the dogs, and bugger me, 2 grey partridge come out of this rabbit pen. He's on the wrong side of the rabbit. He climbed up the friggin' rabbit pen to have them. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, just the dog wanted to have these partridge. I mean, just an incredible dog. And Alec worked tirelessly with this dog to prove to me that if you stick in and put the hours of effort in that you need to, that the dogs can come right. I'm not saying it does all the time, and there is some issues you get, whether it's whining or making a noise that you'll never sort.
Yep.
But if you if you have the experience and the ability and the dog's there, Christ, there's some magical stuff can be created, really magical. And Ben's proven it. Ben now is just a countless winner.
Good, absolutely amazing. Just a wee bit about the training. Would you say, in your opinion, no facts, but in your opinion, it's easy to put a line or a noise into, especially a cocker, than take it out? Once the
let
sound,
me tell you this.
you can't get it out.
Let me tell you this. It doesn't matter whether it's a cocker, and I don't know much about springers, but a springer or a lab, all of them have to sail the line of being very close to exploding. The very best of them, you live that edge, because the best of them could explode at any moment. They could make a noise, they could fucking run in, they can do all sorts, and it's really important that you understand that, and I've seen it now, we've got 6 or 7 champions in the kennel. I tell you right now, they all sail that line, and the very best of them are living on their edge. And Alec tells me countless times, Mike, I tell you, living with that, if you're taking Ben on a trial, you don't know what you're coming up with, because he is so ready to go. And it's just one of these things. I would rather have a dog that was borderline of going exploding than a dog that was going to be a plug, missile about my feet, win an odd trial because he was never taken on. I want ground to take in, I want to be able to take him hunting, I want to take him, I want to trial with him, I want to be able to shoot with him, I want to be a peg dog. I want all these dogs to be capable of that. And if you're trialing, it's another bloody story if that dog is too full on, because he's living the edge all the time.
I have heard from various people, I won't mention their names, but I've heard from a lot of top run-world trainers that it's the trainer's job. They've all got faults. It's the trainer's job on the day to hide those faults.
It's not hiding. I don't think hiding them's not the right word. You know, there's no dog, there's no such thing as a perfect dog.
Yep.
Absolutely, doesn't matter what dog it is, there's nothing perfect.
It's not been bred yet.
Nothing perfect. And it's the ability of the trainer to take that dog in the situation it might find itself in and handle it in a manner that is going to be right for the occasion. And it doesn't matter if it's labs or cockers or anything else. And he needs to understand the weakness and strengths of that dog, and it needs to maximise them on the day. And every day is different, every trialling day is different. You know, and that's really important to understand that. As far as I'm concerned, really important. And I've had that bred into me with Alec and Mike Rollins and all the guys I train with, David Latham, all these guys. They all teach you that at the end of the day, you must be able to say, the dog, you need to know what strengths and weaknesses are. You as a handler, it's you as a handler. That what makes you a great handler. I'm not a great handler, I'm a good handler, but there's great handlers out there. Alec Coots, David Lissett, all these boys, even John Halstead, Ian Openshaw, all of them will tell you that. I'm absolutely sure they will tell you at the end of the day the same thing I'm telling you. It's how you, that dog, they make it. They make the difference because they understand the dog. They know the strengths and weaknesses of that dog, and on the day they know what they're dealing with and what's going to make it happen. It's a brilliant thing. It's a great learning curve, and it's lovely to see, and I'm still learning and listening to all the experts. It's great.
Ideal. So you've established yourself now. You've got a foot in the door, if you like to say. Now you're kind of at the top end of the scale. You're running open competitions. You're rubbing shoulders with the top trialists in the country. People that are doing the same thing as you. They're getting the breeding behind them. They've got their own philosophies. They've got their own ideas and things like that. So we're going to touch on what everybody's saying in the beaten hut. Why? There's young boys out there that can go out and train a dog, but they just will not go to a trial. They won't train a dog to go to a trial because they feel as if they're not going to turn up with the best dog. They're not going to get first. They're not going to win. It's predetermined. A lot of people say a lot of negative stuff about it, but me being there and watching it for myself, I've seen time and time again the best dog winning. But with yourselves, when you move into open stakes and money starts to get involved, money can change everything. So it's no secret at all that there's been suspicion over cockers getting bred with springers for size, stamina, marking ability, everything that could win and lose you a trial. Now, it's been spoke about that it would take 15 minutes of a trial to scan dogs, and there's DNA testing it now that you can basically get 95% guaranteed that's what's in that dog. Now, me as an old days, just looking into it, I don't see why the top kennels, if you make a field trial champion up, can't be using this kind of stuff. They've got the money, they can DNA test a dog. They're taking a dog to a trial, it's got the chip in it, scan the dog, everybody's on the same playing field. So, what's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is that firstly it has to be a level playing field. It has to be a level playing field. You know, you've got guys, whether they're professionals or like myself, hobby guys, putting huge amount of effort into it. And it has to be a level playing field, and unfortunately it's not. You know, in my book, absolutely hasn't, and I think Andy Platt has done a huge job in releasing Sprockergate, because I believe genuinely some unscrupulous breeders out there have been crossing springers with cockers and keeping solid pups, solid coloured pups to run against proper cockers, as it were. And absolutely sure about that in my own mind, and I'm afraid I have no time for that. I think it's appalling. So I think that's money leading that, and to win at all costs. I believe that is the case for that, and it's just frankly not good enough. And I will stand by the people who breed proper cockers until the day I die, because it's not good enough.
So in this day and age where we are now, I mean, we could, as we spoke earlier, we could speak about that until the cows come home. We could waste so many batteries on that. But where we are now, and the technology that's there, surely the Kennel Club maybe look into it and say, if people like yourself start promoting this, DNA, if you make a champion up to and it's going to win, it's going to run in the championship every year, all the top kennels, why not DNA test your dogs? If you find that, what would you do if you found out that you DNA tested one of your dogs that comes back 50-50?
If my dog came back 50-50, it would never run in a trial.
That's what I mean. So
Never.
So you being on the top end now, Mike, would you be happy to do that with your dogs?
Of course it would, 100%, and I think it's the way it'll go. I think there's some real revelations going to happen in the next year.
I think that myself.
100%, there's going to be some real revelations that's going to happen, and I think we'll end up with proper cockers being running together. Wisdom Panel have proven it time and time again, and I genuinely believe there's a few things are going to happen in the next 6-12 months that will prove that, and it's a shame that it's had to go that level, but with regards to cockers, it has to be a level playing field. And I mean, you cannot compare a Springer Spaniel to a cocker. You cannot. I mean, there's so many advantages. You still have to train the dog, of course you do, but when you get down to the final crunch of it all, and you've got you're maybe running off against a sprocker, that extra half gear, that extra little bit that's been bred in there that you don't see, is enough to make you win. And that, of course, that's why they do it. And but it's not a level playing field. There has to be a level playing field. In my book, it doesn't matter whether it's bloody labs or cockers or anything. Level playing field's all you ask for. All you ask for is a fair go. That's all you can ever ask for.
And it has caused a divide right down the middle.
Oh, it's been massive.
It's clear to see. I mean,
Barry, it's been massive.
I'm just peeking in for the outside, and I can see who's on the left and who's on the right. And for somebody like myself that's trialling as a hobby and not even committed
Yeah,
to
but
it.
I do think though there's more and more people are going to Wisdom Panel and getting it proper, getting their cockers checked.
Especially,
I feel that.
especially with
And
our stud dogs now.
And if you look at the stud dogs which are in the kennel club, and you can see now the Sprocker stud dogs are not getting used. They're not. And the pure cockers are. And they should be health tested, they should be properly you know, that's the way forward. And I firmly believe that. And you know, I don't care what anyone feels about the way what I'm saying about Sprockers. You know, there's no place for them in the cocker world, none whatsoever. And typically in the trialing world, it's like taking a mare, a horse and injecting it with something that it shouldn't have in it to give it that extra mile. You know, it's using stuff that God forbid that shouldn't be there, and it just isn't. And from what I gather too is what's happening is that they're taking a solid colour out of a Sprocker litter, and those are the ones that go forward to trialling, and the ones that look like Springers aren't getting used, and it's abominable, absolutely abominable, and I downcry it, and I just think it's appalling, and I really hope that going forward that is taken out of the equation. I think Andy Platt's done an incredible job, absolutely incredible, and he's put his A-panel judge status on the line, he's put his own money on the line. He has really spoken up for cockers, and that guy needs a real pat in the back. In my book, a real pat in the back, and I would support him 100% going forward, and anyone who breeds Wisdom Panel 100%. And you've seen it, Wisdom Panel themselves, the amount of dogs they're checking to get tested is incredible since this has all happened. And hopefully that, if the Kennel Club do nothing, even so, it's a proven fact that Sprocker studs are not being used quite the same.
Hats off to Andy Platt, it's good to see him back trialling, back winning again as
He's
well.
a great guy, I have a lot of time for him.
Could speak all day about Andy, but we'll move on to that. So, touched a wee bit on kind of the borderline, in my opinion. Borderline, it's no borderline, it's cheating, in my opinion, if you know you're running a Sprocker against a cocker. So we'll leave that there. We'll leave that behind us now and move on. So now you're going to the championship consistently. What's the feeling? What's the buzz? What's it like? What's it like when you're there and you've got your own dogs there? What's
It's something
that?
else.
Is
I
it
can't
different?
quite explain it. I think the only time I could even come close to it was when I captained Scotland at Draycott in England. And the buzz that I got from captain fishing and captaining a team of 15 men who are all looking up to you, I mean, that feeling is enormous.
Proud?
It's just proud, it's excitement, it's adrenaline rush, it's everything that you would want it to be. And when you're at that championship, you want to be there and you want to give it all. You don't want to be up there just making up numbers. Same story.
Same story.
You don't want to make up numbers. And I think the guys like Will Clooley, who obviously is a bloody good trainer, you know, has 4 or 5 dogs in the championship. If you've only one dog in the championship, it's harder to compete, or in the law of averages,
Yeah.
to get up there against guys that have got 4 or 5 dogs.
You get a better chance of getting
Of
2
course you
clean
do.
runs.
So I said to Alec, we need to have 3 champions or 3 cockers every championship running in that
So this is a new mindset.
mindset. 3 cockers is what we want, a Mackie Affix running in the championship. And he said, Mike, nothing like putting bloody pressure on me, you bastard. That's the way I feel. I want 3 in there. And give us a fair chance.
These are all in now by the
We're
sounds
all
of it. You've been to the championship now, you know what the buzz is like.
It's good.
You've got the hair standing up the back of your neck. You're seeing what the other top trainers are coming with. You're not coming with one dog anywhere. You're wanting 3 in.
I want 3 in it.
So now you're starting. Now you have got your eyes on the prize. You're looking at that trophy and saying to yourself, we're winning that. Now that must be a great buzz in itself.
It is.
Especially
but
even when you see a pup coming through
course
and you're
it is.
saying, is this going to be the one?
Yeah.
Because you're giving yourself a great chance now. You've changed your training. Not only a lot of people stick to rabbits, training rabbits, but you've put a wee spin on it, which is good to hear for everybody. So you've got your eyes on
Beyond
the prize.
rabbits, you can't win trials if you just train on rabbits. You have to have dogs that are capable on pheasants and partridge to mark, that can flush and train and mark. It's absolutely imperative because there's no other rabbits out there that there used to be. It's absolutely. And I think Wes Thomas has some brilliant training down south where he does training with partridge and pheasant. And a guy like him, he's absolutely mustard. We plan to have a couple of days with him next year. And you know, that sort of training that's what you need to make your dog ready for these sorts of days. But no, it's a big buzz, but remember, at the end of the day, it's professionals against amateurs.
Yeah.
We're amateurs at the end of the day. We're not professionals. We don't do it full time, and that's a good thing for me. I want to be competing, but I want to be taking the professionals on. I want to be at their own game. That is a buzz for me as well.
They're making you better.
Of course they are. Of course they are. And they make everyone better.
Yep.
Because it's one of the very few sports where professionals run against amateurs. Very few sports.
Yep.
But there's nothing better than taking on a bloody professional and beating them.
It is, I would say, it is very, very, very easy, far easier than I ever thought, to actually go and meet the top boys. Like, you go and run in a trial, you win that, you can turn up to trial and you can have the likes of yourself, you can have Andy Clark, Openshaw, the list goes on.
Ian English, another great.
Ian English, Gareth Davis.
Ian English,
I mean,
top
some of the cards could be just crazy.
Of course, when you look at the card, I mean, and another good thing that Alec always tells me is, then I look at the card.
That's what I was ready to touch on. I've got to say, what would you say to a young novice trainer coming through and he looks at the card and he says,
Then I look at the card.
oh fuck,
Then I look at the card.
Andy Clark's running that
Absolute
dog.
nonsense.
Ian
Don't
English
do
is
that.
running that dog.
No, absolutely not. You cannot afford to
Alan
do that.
Coots is
You
running
do
that.
that and you're beat before you start. You cannot do that, Barry. You must go out there, run your dog, and every retrieve, every bloody hunt is your hunt. It's nothing to do. You cannot think about anyone else. I've beaten the best. It's very capable to beat these guys. And you must not get your head caught up in them. And listen, these guys do it a year, the professionals do it day in, day out. But at the end of the day, there's too many imponderables, too many question marks that could potentially put them out. And you must go out there and think, just think about that first run. Get the first run under your belt, get that first retrieve, each time take it stage by stage. Before you know it, you've beaten them, you're up there at the park.
Well, there you go, guys. Don't look at the card. Concentrate on your own dog. somebody's got to win, why not be you? So now you're flying, you've got a real stamp in the trialling game, you know where you're going, you know where you came from, you know what you've got in the kennel, things are going good, and then boom, you take no well, right? It's up to yourself. Can we talk about that a wee bit?
Yeah, of course you can. I mean,
That is called the highs and the lows, so this will be a wee part of the low situation.
yeah, I mean, back when I was ready to start trialling back in, I suppose, 1988, 1989, you know, it was very easy, and I was ready to go, and of course my son took leukemia, Cameron, he took leukemia, he didn't take it once, he took it 3 times, and I stopped the dogs there and then, focused on getting my son better, and thankfully I did that, and then came into dogs myself, started back up, Christ, lo and behold, I got leukemia, and got leukemia once, cured from that, got it a second time, 10% chance of survival, came through that,
10%.
10%, and in that time, I had Alec Coots and myself had still started this, and he carried on. He knew what I wanted to try and achieve.
Yep.
He never faltered. And while I was going through all the medication, all the hospital, he was there. And he was brilliant in that respect. He understood and he never let me down once. I remember speaking from a Nine Wells hospital bed and one of his wins from Yorkshire, and he phoned me up and he said, I hope everything went well for day 3. I want to make your day better, Frank. He said, we won down in Yorkshire. We won down in the Ian Openshaw ground, and he says, this is brilliant, and I hope you feel better for that. And it just, the buzz I got from that, the feeling was immense. And thankfully, I got a transplant from my sister, and I'm back at it, and I'm on, ready to go. My son's fine. We're all good. We're very fortunate. A lot of people passed away along the way, and you know, I'm just a very lucky guy. A lot of people say to me, like, you are so lucky. Your son's had 3 lots of leukemia, you've had 2, you've had 10% chance of survival, your son's just made it through, you've just made it through. You're so bloody unlucky. I look at it totally different. I'm the luckiest guy out there, because I'm here. Along the way we've seen so many people disappear. We've lost them, children, young children, my friends, on the way, in my ward, we've lost them. I'm the luckiest guy out there. I'm here. I'm lucky to have all my family.
Mike, do you think your attitude, your positive mental attitude, helped you along the way?
100%. 100%.
How important is that attitude?
It's not just in health and life and dog. Positive mental attitude is everything. I tell you, if you've got that, you're halfway winning. And I really mean that. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart for anyone struggling. And I help a lot of people who are struggling with ill health. A positive mental attitude is huge. And if you're one of these people who are down and think you're never going to be out, you'll never be it. You're never going to win. If you think you're going to be third or second, these boys are too good to beat, I'll never beat them. You'll never fucking beat them. You've got to think you're going to beat them, and you'll beat them. You've got a chance. And that's huge for me. I've always felt that. And it knocks on, and people rub off from that.
Yeah.
People who you train with, they all get that feeling. I get that feeling when I'm with Dave Latham. Dave Latham never thinks he's going to be second. He fucking thinks he's going to be first all the time.
Brilliant.
And it's brilliant. You go out training with Ian English and Alec and all these boys aren't training to be third.
No.
They're going to win championships. And that's because they've got it up here. It's mindset. It's absolutely positive, and I'm a firm believer in that. Absolutely.
Definitely do believe on your mindset's everything, because there will be people watching this, Mike, that are no well, or they've maybe just come out of remission, or they've maybe beat cancer, or they're maybe in the battle with it. Now, see if you can be positive through those times. See, even if you're giving your dogs away and they're winning and giving you that wee bit of confidence just to help you get through. There's living proof, Mike Forbes. We don't know each other for Adam. You've agreed to come on the podcast. We've sat, we've spoke about some touchy subjects, we've spoke about life in general. We spoke more off camera than we did on camera. And it's fair to say, Mike, that just me and my wife would agree, you're an amazing man. The things that you've done and came through,
You say that.
it would be easy for anybody else, Mike, to put their head between their legs and say, why me, why me? It seems to me that you've had your eyes on the prize all the time and you've went for it 100%.
You know,
And now you're speaking to people and helping them through bad times. And a lot of people say, oh, well, that might have been just Mike's mindset, but it comes back to the competing to fish, competing to win with fish, competing to win with dogs, competing to win your life, competing to live, competing to go out for a meal with your wife, come back out of the hospital, and it's all down to mindset.
A huge amount of that, and I know what you're saying. You know, but and it's a kind words that you're saying there. But I think a lot of it's genetics, and you know, you're made that way, and some people unfortunately aren't made that way. I'm lucky to be made that way, and it's very kind of you to have asked me to speak, and it's a nice thing for you to do, and I hope that people who are coming into this can see you don't need to be professional. You can be someone who's Joe Blogg, someone on, you know, I'm a simple, straightforward, straight talking guy.
Yep.
And ultimately you can get in there. I think unfortunately, the unfortunate things are that some of the newbies and people coming on today, they don't have shooting background, so it's a bit difficult for them to understand what's going on, what is a runner, what's not a runner. And I would encourage them to really try and get in on some shoots and pick up, and
yeah.
whether, you know, you become a picker up for a bit of that and get out with it. And I would encourage the guys who are professional and who maybe close circle to open their circle up a little for some of these beginners, because there's guys out there who are bloody good, who are capable and want to be part of that and can help them in a funny sort of way, yourself sort of included. I know you feel like that, and I just hope that in this trialing world that you know, we've got enough people out there that are against us and against shooting and against this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Chris Packhams of this world. You know, we need to be open to one another,
yep.
and try and be together,
definitely,
and help one another,
and at the end of the day, 20 years down the line, a lot of the top trialers are going to be too old to trial. There needs to be new blood coming through.
Absolutely.
There needs to be new type of cocker coming through.
Of course they do.
Someday that's going to be the top boys, probably not even entered their trial yet.
Yeah.
And without open arms, it's difficult to get in, and I know that from afar. I was invited in by Andy Platt, who kind of showed me the ropes, and I've seen boys, and everybody on the fringe of winning obviously now. I've got maybe 15 people on my messenger, this and that, we just kind of go into this and that, and it'd be good, because they've all got local gun dog trainers that maybe just open the door for them and maybe give them a chance, maybe give them a day shooting.
I think the unfortunate thing is there's so much of it hinges around money, you know, and the top guys are making a lot of money from stud dogs, and you may never get past that, because, you know, they might see the newbie guys as a threat to their income.
Yeah. Especially with social media, it's very easy to make. Very easy to make a stud profile or whatever. I've seen them, and you try and look into the history. There's nothing there. It's just a new stud profile. Whereas you've got kennels like just say, for instance, yourself. You have done your checks. You're on the breeding dogs to come second. You know what I mean? If you're coming to you for a stud dog, there's a good chance you're breeding your own dog with that, or you're bringing in a different bitch to that dog.
I would hope too that we're helping the newcomers as well. We take them up, I have training days up Glenesk, and I would like to think I'm taking some of them up there and giving them an opportunity, and I would really encourage professionals to do that. I know they may think there's more competition and they might be diluting their chance of making a bit of money. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if we don't have that support, the likes of Chris Packham will get against us,
yep.
and we'll end up with no sport. We'll end up with no sport, and that's not good enough. And we need to have guys coming, also newbies that are going to be judges, want to be judges. You know, as you quite rightly said, some of the older judges ain't going to be here long
yep.
term, and it's a difficult thing judging. And we need to encourage people to come into the sport, get to the level where they want to become judges.
They do call it judging the devil's job.
Yeah, it's a devil's job.
turn up 16 people like you, you go home 15 hate you.
Yeah, I don't mind judging personally. I quite like judging.
What would you say about the situation where people say, oh, I'm not going to that, and it happens, like it or not, it does happen. People look at the schedules and the first thing they're looking at is the judges. You look on the Spaniel pages, who's judging that?
Doesn't matter whether it's Spaniel
So,
or Labs, they all do that.
It's got, surely as time's gone on, it's got to get to a point where people are only interested, is there game on that ground, I want to go to that, so that they're not just blown off a trial because somebody's judging that, somebody's judging this. I mean, how many times have you seen a Cocker trial full, change a judge and then they can't get entries for it?
I think it happens a lot, and it will always happen. And the biggest problem is that those judges are judging 2 legs and not judging 4.
That's what I was going to touch on.
Judging 2 legs, not 4, and it will happen. Until we sort that out, you know, you'll find that. But clubs who are putting trials together and not getting entries, well, surely they must learn. And they must see that you need a judge that's going to be impartial. You must have that. It has to be a level playing field. It doesn't matter professional or amateur or not, it has to be an impartial goal, a level playing field, and you'll get entrance.
And that's so important,
Oh, it's
especially,
so important.
especially for
Barry,
novice
it's
coming up.
absolutely paramount to the success of trying to stop that, get away from that. And thankfully there's some strong spoken judges out there who are really senior, are putting the word into the Kennel Club and trying to get it so that we can get that impartiality.
Yep.
But there's also an element of judging where even good judges can get it wrong. And you have to live with that. And you have to accept. And I've had it. I've had failure after failure, and that's because I've not been good enough. And judges out there are making the right call, and they don't always make the wrong call. And you know, it's a difficult thing judging. I personally enjoy judging. I don't mind it whatsoever because I'm a straight caller.
Yep.
You know, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I don't ever judge who's handling the dog. It's
got to be judging the dog.
Got to be judging the dog, and that for me is absolutely paramount. And I think it can upset newbies coming into it because they get so disheartened by failure.
And that's what I was trying to say. Like for new boys coming in, it's very, very easy for a judge to put them off, or even just a steward that is a judge and they know he's a judge to put somebody off. I mean, I'll tell you a story. My first trial that I got a place in, a certain judge, maybe hopefully he watches this, just 2 seconds before I went in for a run, said to me, and I'm brand new into trialling, 2 trials in, said to me, your dog hunts better on the leash than it does off the leash. Why say that? I mean, if that's getting said to me, it's getting said to other folk. And I've said to myself, see when I got that third, that day, I've said to myself, should I say something? But I never, I just actually had a migraine.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And I think there's some brilliant judges out there. I think Billy Steele Jr. He's probably one of the best judges.
He's probably the most straight spoken.
He judges dogs, but he is absolutely first class. I had every day run under that guy. Just brilliant. And you can, and the way you treat people when they come in, and I know the people who I've judged with and who've taught me about judging, they encourage you. They don't make you feel like you're someone out there who's, you know, a terrible individual. They make you feel, come on in here and now listen, you've plenty of time in your own time, and they speak to you like you're a human. They don't speak to you like you're a robot. Don't speak to you like you're somebody against them. And that is really important. And I felt that countless times, and I've tried to, when I'm judging, make the person feel relaxed. And you can see they're nervous.
Definitely.
Of course they're nervous. You bring them in and say, listen, this is where we think it is. It's 40 yards out to your right. It's in that little clump of heather. In your own time, take your dog off. I think it's really important to make them feel welcome.
I think even just a good look at the start, especially when you're coming with a Spaniel, even just a good look at the start, just for the new boys that are, I mean, so nervous it's transferring through the lead onto the dog. I mean, I'm terrible for it.
But speaking nicely to you, I mean, you don't need to be, send your dog, sort of nonsense. I mean, the bug of that. I mean, you just need to be a bit of courtesy about it. Because you're a judge and you've proven yourself, doesn't mean to say that you have to make a newbie feel that high.
Yeah.
That's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, and they're going to go home and never fucking trial again.
Exactly.
Bugger that.
Exactly.
No, we need them. We need people, young people coming in. We need people. And just show a wee bit of courtesy. Make them feel, listen, it's not such a, don't worry about it. Try and make them feel that they're,
Exactly.
it's
a
not,
day out with the dog.
absolutely.
A day out with the
Really
dog.
important. That's the way I feel anyway, and I very strongly feel about that. And thankfully, I've had some great people who judges who said, right, Mike, you know, in your own time here, don't worry about it. This is where I think that the bird is, and they give you a wee explanation, and they make you feel, God, that's fine. I know what I'm trying to do now. And other than these, send your dog. Fuck that. You know, you need to. How are you supposed to feel? You feel that high? It's nonsense.
Glad you touched on that. So you did say, Mike, you keep your pups until they're roughly 6 months.
Mm.
So for somebody looking at this podcast and looking at your lines that are proven, how would they maybe go about getting a pup or maybe a stud fee?
Well,
I'll drop a link into this
mhm.
if that's all right with yourself. But if somebody's trying to get a pup from yourself,
Yeah.
is there a list? Or if they're trying to get a stud free, do they contact you or Alex?
I'm the guy. We have a website. It's maybe been flashing away in the background there.
What's your website called?
So the MackeyGunDogs.com. And ping a wee email. I'm very, very approachable. You can pick up a phone to me at any time. And I would encourage you to use our dogs, stud fees. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the legacy.
Yep.
For me, it's about the legacy. It's not about the money. You know, so the hard work we've done in creating the dogs we've got, I want people to benefit from. And, you know, just a matter of picking up the phone and organising a stud fee. If you want a pup, the unfortunate thing is, the way we work it is, we've probably worked the best two out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think that there's still 4 dogs there, there's still the genetics there.
Yep.
So if they take a bitch out of that line and cover it with another good dog, further, you know, they take that dog, maybe 6 or 8 months old. Okay, it might not be a trial winning dog, but the genetics are there. They can then go and use it on another stud dog,
Yep.
and potentially get a litter of pups that then's going to give it to them.
So yous have no problems at all with people breeding off your pups? Obviously.
Oh goodness me, hell no.
Because
What?
I
I
know
think I
what-
would encourage it.
I know people that put restrictions which I don't agree with. If somebody's paying the money to get a pup, it's their
There's no
pup.
restrictions really, none whatsoever.
Okay.
I would encourage it.
Okay. So we've touched on quite a hell of a lot. Is there anything I've not brought up, Mike, that you would maybe like to speak about?
There's probably quite a few things, but I don't really want to be speaking about on camera about them, because I think there's some people out there who are unscrupulous.
I think we all know who you're talking about.
So I'm not prepared to speak about them, but I would encourage people to you know, I'm relatively young in the trialling world. There is massive potential out there. There's great fun to be had. There's some wonderful people. I mean, really wonderful people who are in the cocker world. They're just a great laugh. And I go to cocker trials, and the banter is brilliant. And I would encourage you to go out there and really get involved. And if you think your dog's up for it, go trialling. And in the lab world as well, there's some great people out there. And just get to stuck in and trial and okay, take the fall.
Yep.
But as Muhammad Ali says, it's okay to go down, it's not okay to stay down.
Yep.
And I believe firmly in that. I'm fortunate enough to
Got
have
up
a
and
few
dust
wins
yourself
under the
down.
belt. Fortunate to have a few wins under the belt.
So what would you say that, I mean, there's a list as long for here to my house and we stay miles apart. A good drive away, there's plenty of boys and girls on the fringe of trialling and
Yeah.
maybe just not get the ball to take that step. So what would you say to them as your advice? Get that form filled
Well,
in, send it
my
away.
first thing would say is get involved in a local shoot. Get a bit of experience under you. Do a wee bit of picking up. If you get a wee bit of picking up, then the keeper or the guy in charge of that shoot will maybe let you have a wee bit of ground to go and hunt your dog. Great start. Get involved in a few clubs. Join as many clubs as you can. Try and get yourself in with people who are like-minded. Don't go with other novices. You need to get involved with some guys that are experienced. Get involved, try and learn from them, soak it all up, be like a sponge. and ask questions. Don't be scared to ask questions. People who ask questions will get answers, and those will help you on the way.
There you go there. So maybe how a lot of people don't like me. I was always raised if you don't ask, you don't get. And I ask a hell of a lot of questions all the time, sometimes too much, but that's just the way I am. So there you go, boys and girls. That's a good insight in how to get into the trialling world. We could speak too much on other things, but I'm trying to keep it positive as we can. Mike, thanks very much for coming on. Thanks for the hospitality. It's been great to chat to you, and thanks again. And anybody looking for a stud fee or a pup, Mike's explained exactly how to go about it. And thank you very much,
My
Mike.
pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.